Africa and not in the US or not in India or not in China or not in Africa, to keep all this excellent workforce we have in Africa and tell them that if you want to develop new innovation, new technology, you can do that directly here in your country. So this is how we have tried to bring innovation to South Africa. And just to conclude, I think skills and technology adoption are probably the most important things when you want to develop a digital economy and a digital platform.
No, thank you very much. Let me move home. I'll start with Mr. Boy. Mr. Boy, one of the key elements, and that will be the last when I look at the elements of digital transformation, skills, as digital skills have been spoken to, so I'll leave that out. I'd like you to focus on digital inclusivity and all the three levels, your access, your usage, and economic benefit. First start with Centec is how Centec would assist to enable digital inclusivity, both from the level of access, usage, and people being able to really gain economic benefit from that, both in terms of what you're doing in Centec, and secondly, where do you think the country is as so far as digital inclusivity?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kika. Dr. Kika. Good morning, honorable ministers in the room and all protocol observed. As an engineer, I've been trained to identify and solve problems, and also to scope the problems that we face. And when you look at our country, if you talk about the issue of inclusivity and access, we as Centec, we are an infrastructure company. There's two things that we have been mandated to do. One is to make sure that there is universal access to content for all, meaning that if you've got a radio in your car, we deliver that content to you as coming from the broadcaster. The second one, which has become quite big for us now as we move towards digital economy and inclusion, is the provision of broadband. And we know that our colleagues in the industry who are commercial in their mission and vision, there are areas where they believe they are not economically viable. But those areas are where we come from. My village, Kutsingo, Kutsol. There are people who live there, but they don't have access to broadband. And this was exposed in all villages, in all rural areas during the time of COVID, where education was not accessible virtually or remotely. So our view then, starting from Centec, is that we will go to those areas which are not provided for, because we can use our satellite infrastructure to deliver broadband in the outflung, far-flung areas, whether it be a home affairs remote area that is dealing with people in that space, or a border management system. We can deliver those systems to make sure that there is access to broadband. When you talk about digital economy, there can never be any digital economy without knowledge economy. So therefore, education becomes very important, Mr. Kika and colleagues. But if we don't put pressure on ourselves as an industry and educate people, we may be talking about artificial intelligence. And I've decided not to go that route. I've decided that the area of focus for us is real intelligence. Because with real intelligence that we bring to the people, therein lies artificial intelligence. Therefore, as educators, as technologists, we need to ensure that to be able to bring access to this digital economy for our people in this country, we need to ensure that there is proper training, skills, mathematics and science is made available, and we teach people how technology works. Not only that, but we make sure that there is access. The last point I wanted to make is that government has committed itself to making sure that there is a broad and broader access to broadband using what the minister calls SA Connect, where we're looking at the underserved areas and we're saying for all schools and all clinics and all government departments, there must be good internet connectivity in those areas so that we can bring in this digital inclusion, bring in digital technologies, and then those tech fundies in the room can then bring in the artificial intelligence. But without broadband, you cannot access even that ChatGPT. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. To Subdipto at MTN, if you recall the previous, when I was opening, I said the picture, if you look at the global economy, 70% of those companies that are top companies by market cap are technology companies. In South Africa, we have one, which is Naspers, and if you remove 30 cents, I'm not sure where it would be. It would probably not be there. But you have MTN and Vodacom just after top 10. They tend to be around 11, 12, depending on what's happening in the market. So you're almost top 10. So, and as I've made the case initially, that there is a huge opportunity, or the opportunity for economic growth in South Africa lies with innovation and digital transformation. That case has been made, and I think even earlier speakers have made that case. So as MTN, you've gone that far, you're close, you're also a global company. Obviously not everywhere else in the world, but you're a global company. What do you think would propel South African companies like MTN to actually go up in the top 10 companies, and what are the barriers? What's stopping MTN, what's stopping Vodacom and other companies from being able to get into that level? Obviously, you can talk to successes to be where you are. It's already something that needs to be clapped on, but what is it that is stopping other companies, including yourselves, the South African companies, to really make it up to the top 10 companies?
Thank you, Loiso, and hello everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and respected all the dignitaries. I think, Loiso, before we get into what is stopping South African companies, to change that paradigm, that 70% that you talk about, maybe just to double click on a few points that are facts, right? If you look at the global scenario, all the companies, the top 20 companies globally, as you made the case, if you think about, there are some common denominators. What are those? Let's just maybe quickly unpack that. I think each of those companies started with a simple vision that attracted, major capital. The venture capitalist backing is being fundamentally pivotal. I think each of the companies in that 70% globally that you talk about have got something that appeals to the deepest human desire. Look, any companies, whether it's the Amazons of the world, the Metas, the Facebook, etc., the desire to consumption, desire to, the love and the connection to human race is unparalleled. And then I think if we learn from that 70% market share globally that you talk about, we also know that they have had almost desperate portfolios for structural advantages. So they never siphon the innovation, and they have played that long-term game. And lastly, and not the least, I think they also have made some very shrewd acquisition. They have invested in areas, and they have created a bit of myth that make them invincible to change the competition out. So those are some of the trends that we have seen, I suppose, with the global organization. Coming to South Africa, and in my opinion, and maybe I'll share a few examples of what we're doing from an MTN perspective. Arguably, in the global scheme, when we talk about the technology companies, platform is a very important enabler. And with the platform, it's all about the shared cost and the returns that you can provide. But more importantly, it's the connection to the people, as my colleagues and fellow panelists have spoken about with the basics. So those are some of the key things, and possibly what's stopping the South African companies to be and change that paradigm, might be leading more to, the policies are there, but, the execution of the policies, the support from the government is there, but how do we possibly look? This is a ICT, kind of platform, how do we look at change of sourcing strategies? How do we look at a bigger inclusiveness? And those are some of the common elements, I think, not working in silos. If you look at the global companies, the inclusiveness they have, when they talk about some massive opportunities and transformation, it's profound what the support these companies go, or get, because today they are having the biggest market share, that's 70%, for a reason. From an MTN perspective, I think some of the things that we're trying to do to change that paradigm, you gave the example of NSFAS, and you said that we are there and thereabout. I mean, depends on the paradigm that you are looking at. I think, from an MTN perspective, a fundamental thing that we are driving is platform-led business. So whether it's the likes of Chinosis that we have developed, which is an open API platform that helps the government to interconnect, whether it is the likes of our fintech. Earlier, some of the presenters have spoken about the opportunity we have, and that's where we are investing in the fintech in each of the African countries. I mean, recently, as you guys are probably aware, the likes of MasterCard has made an investment into fintech. And then finally, I think creating innovations through what I call the portfolios of taking structural advantage. I belong to the Center of Excellence within MTN that is moving from telco to techco, and the assets that we're building, but remaining, as you said, the bedrock is the connectivity. So, the MTNs believe that everyone deserves the benefit of modern connected life. I think that's very true. And without that, the ChatGPT won't connect. So those are some of the initiatives that we at MTN are driving to change that paradigm, to look at the top 20 companies. But if the changes have been supported by the ecosystem, I believe that a lot of South African companies, technology companies, can make it to the top 10, the top 20, and create that 70% that you spoke about from a global volume perspective.
Thank you. We've got...
Loisa, I know you're having so much fun in this conversation, and I know the audience is enjoying it, so thank you for that. Gentlemen, I'm going to just sneak my way here. So we're going to do something a little unusual. I know you were having fun with the conversation, and we found it extremely stimulating. But because we're having so much fun with the conversation, with a lot of the other presentations that we've had so far, we have a minister in the room, Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande, who is the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, and he's listened to what you're saying, and he's listened to the other presentations, and he would like to get onto stage as well and to share his views on innovation and digital skills, incorporating what the gentlemen here on stage have said. And if we can, please. So what I want to do right now is thank you so much, Loisa, for facilitating that particular panel. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. All right, so as I mentioned, we are now going to be looking at innovation and digital skills. And I'd like to welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Blade Nzimande, who is the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology. Let's give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Allow me maybe to apologize on your behalf to the panel. As myself, I was still enjoying the interaction and commentations. But I can understand also that there are time pressures on the other hand. Thanks for that consideration. Let me start by greeting my colleague, Minister Mondli Gumubele, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Ms. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Deputy Minister Mapulane, Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, the SITA Managing Director, Dr. Bongani Mabaso, my special advisor, Mr. Ngaba Ngandela, all chairpersons and CEOs of all government entities who are here, government officials from all spheres, ICT industry leaders, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. Now, since this is GovTech, your first task, not you, Minister, the CETA and other officials, is to modernize these podiums. That's the first task. They must be able to be moved up and down so that they are able to adjust to all sizes and types of human beings. Otherwise, next time when I come here, I hope the podium will be adjustable. I'm very pleased that I've been invited to this important occasion and to speak about innovation and digital skills. Within the 2023 overall GovTech theme of platform economy for digital transformation and inclusive growth. I don't have to tell you that in a world increasingly driven by technology and innovation, the role of skills development in propelling our nation forward cannot be overstated. The panel was making the very same point, very strongly. In a world where automation and artificial intelligence are becoming commonplace, we must massify digital skills revolution to harness these technologies with the understanding that basic digital skills are not only essential for employability, but also for everyday life in a globalized world. Minister Kumbeli will be very pleased that I'm not saying this thing because it's in my speech. I'm already doing something about it. I've told the National Skills Fund that one of my top 5 priorities for training is digital skills. So I am ready that we engage with yourself on taking this forward. However, we must adopt new technologies and digitization in order to solve simple problems, though, and challenges. This is one of the things now. I'm going to be self-critical about my own government that I'm part of, as a way of illustrating what some of the things that needs to come out of platforms like these. Why on earth do you need to go to a police station in this day and age to certify your certificates for applying for a government job? Why? You are asking someone who is applying for a government job to go to a police station to certify that he or she has a qualification that is sitting with me, with one of my institutions, and I'm part of the very same government. Now, I'm just trying to illustrate some of these simple things that one comes across that are very frustrating. Why can't that government department simply press a button to check if this person does have access data from my own department, if this person does have a BA degree or a diploma in electrical engineering, whatever the case may be? Also, why demand certified copies that they must not be older than 3 months? In this day and age, 2023, what for? Why would a government department advertise jobs and not provide an email address, but ask applicants to phone? And when they phone, the call is not answered. Why do we still give fax numbers and keep fax machines? I'm talking about what is still happening. That's your task, CETA. Why do we still need, and in many cases we don't accept an email as an appropriate form of communication. We want a piece of paper that is faxed or posted, and then we only say we believe that. We still do that, including my own department, by the way. Some of these things are there which I'm fighting every day. For me, the challenge to GovTech, one main challenge, each time you meet, set certain targets after that, that by the next GovTech, we would have done so many things. These things, as far as I'm concerned, by the next GovTech, no government department should still actually be doing this. All the reason why we need to massify digital skills, and that we must reduce the digital divide by empowering women, youth, and people with disabilities, with special attention to underserved rural communities that the panel also was talking about, which frustrated us. Myself and Minister Motshekga, we were so frustrated. Some of the material for study for students, University of Zululand, I know for a fact, they were trying to deliver them physically during COVID, so that students could actually be able to continue to study. No connectivity, lots of challenges. Now, what this means, therefore, is that skills development and innovation are two things that need to go together all the time. And we must make sure, which is GovTech's role, that public entities take the lead in the adoption of these modern technologies for efficiency and better delivery of services to the people. I'm also aware also that there are pockets of resistance that you find in government, because modernization gives us a weapon to fight against corruption. To those who are not interested in fighting against corruption, they don't want modernization. They still want things to be done manually. I'm not saying this only here. I had the honor to address women judges, by the way. I didn't even know that there are so many Black women judges in South Africa today. Huge achievement by this government, telling them that there is nothing as frustrating. I am in court every day. I sign until my finger is disfigured to initial every page of an affidavit that is 300 and something pages. Otherwise, you miss one or two, it's not acceptable in court. I say to these judges, really? In 2023, my finger is disfigured, actually. Literally, part of it is that. Now, I want to say here today, I'm very committed to partner with GovTech, you, Minister, in particular, with my two departments to continue to create pathways for all South Africans to access these skills. That's why I want to share some of the things that we are doing so that everyone is aware. Because sometimes we get criticized as government because people do not know what we are doing. I recently finalized the report of the Ministerial Task Team on the implications of the fourth industrial revolution for post-school education and training in South Africa. I no longer like this word 4IR, because increasingly as I use it, I've become less convinced that's what it really means. I now prefer new and modern technologies. I'm not saying don't use it. It's just my own particular feeling and view that perhaps that describes better what we do. Now, we are in the process now as a department to say, these new technologies, what implications do they have for post-school education and training? This new system, which I'll come back to, artificial intelligence, poses certain challenges for us. But one thing that we've set up as the Department of Higher Education and Training is what we call the National Open Learning System, NOLS, in short. This is one of my flagship projects, which is the development of the National Open Learning System that was developed in collaboration with the European Union. I'm glad to report that NOLS is fully functional, and to date, over 18,000 lecturers and students have registered on the system and have access to more than 9,800 resources that they can use for their own study. This is technology in action. These users have access to free, high-quality content to support teaching and learning that also includes videos, simulations, and interactive multimedia. We have, as the UNESCO Open Educational Resources Recommendation, made quality learning and teaching resources available under open licenses under this NOLS system. This is very important, by the way, because one of the things that, Minister Kungubel, I am really concerned about is the extent to which books are expensive in this country. And what does that do in terms of access to education? You know, I've launched a campaign to mobilize men in my sector to fight against gender-based violence, to fight for gender equality and women's emancipation. I'm beginning now electronically to look at books. One of the most exciting books in terms of the title and the blurb that I've seen is 2,900 rands. A single book that talks about the role of men in fighting against gender-based violence. I know that this has been a long debate inside government, but the sooner it is addressed, the better. Now, the NOLS technical platform, if you care to know, has been developed by our own State Information Technology Agency, which has convened this gathering, where the content repository is loaded with learning and teaching resources. An excellent example of a joined-up government. Because one of the tasks of GovTech is to facilitate joined-up government. Now, the embedded learning management system, which is part of NOLS, contains 28 courses that includes 13 different priority trades, a variety of national certificates and national diplomas. I'm very excited by the prospect to build artificial intelligence functionality into the NOLS soon in collaboration with Microsoft. Now, very briefly also, we are repositioning our TVET colleges also to align themselves with modern technologies that we have. I wish to say that during the 2022-2023 financial year, in partnership with Microsoft, a total of 370 TVET lecturers were trained in the 9 provinces to ensure that they develop the necessary skills to navigate and use the NOLS system optimally and effectively. We are also now, by the way, training new artisans, because today there is no longer that car that me and you, Madiba, knew called the Valiant. When it's cold, go to a hamburger, you take a sandpaper, points. Today's cars no longer have those points. Today's motor mechanic carries an iPad or a tablet to actually diagnose and go straight to where the problem needs to be fixed. We are now introducing serious digital skills into our TVET colleges so that our youngsters are trained to fix cars that are on the road today. I like a Valiant, by the way, to have it as an old car, as a vintage car, not as a car around which we need to train our youngsters. Now, in addition to integrating digital skills into existing programs, we've also introduced new programs in response to the new or modern technologies. I'm just sharing this with you so that you know where also we can be able to cooperate, and also to know what some of our own educational institutions are doing. We are now introducing robotics for the national certificate vocational in our TVET colleges. We are introducing ICT programs, And this stream of ICT programs covers subjects such as electronic and digital concepts for robotics, industrial automation, and robotics fundamentals. Because we are using our TVET colleges to prepare students for the future. But I want to say to all the members of industry who are here, please come closer to our TVET colleges. We want you to sit in those councils of TVET colleges. We want you to have a say in the curricula. It's open. I'm inviting you as the minister. Use these TVET colleges to produce the kinds of skills that you want. I tell many employers, so I come across them at the airport or wherever. The man, we are not producing the kinds of skills that we need. And then I turn around and say, how many interns, by the way, do you have in your company from TVET College? Zilch. Then how do I produce relevant students when you have closed your workplace? Because vocational education is both theory and practice. And without workplace experience, we are not going to be able to do these things. And it's even more crucial in the area of information technology. I've also introduced in our TVET colleges funding for innovation. By the way, people do not know that many big innovations were not even done by high-level engineers. They were done by artisans. George Stephenson, who came up with the locomotive engine, was an artisan, was not an engineer. So it is very important that in these TVET colleges, we also support innovation, not only in universities. But let me talk about universities, nevertheless, briefly. COVID-19 taught us a lesson, as the panelists were saying here, some of them. Because we were faced with the reality that especially our historically disadvantaged universities did not have links, and also their students did not have connectivity where they were. So this is a matter that we are attending. But the one challenge, GovTech, join us in this. To work with the mobile operators, Minister Kungubel, they are within your purview. And also one other thing that I still want to say today, as part of aligning a joined-up government, we can't, as education departments, be expected to go and buy data like any other person who buys data. There must be data and spectrum set aside for education so that education becomes accessible. Now, that is part of one government. We need to make it easy to be the case. COVID-19 actually taught us. And by the way, scientists are telling us that we have now entered the age of pandemics. Within the next 10 years, we are likely to have another big pandemic, by the way. It's not only just going to be COVID, because of climate change. And part of dealing with the negative impact of pandemics is digitization, is innovation, so that we are able to confront those realities. So we have no choice. Now, on the SETAs, I have said to the SETAs, not only just to the National Skills Fund, the issue of digital skills is a priority. I'm very pleased to say that the chemical SETA we were launching Premier Duwengube, a wonderful facility which I would like you to visit, in Babanango, right in the middle of nowhere, as some people say, Kwanjaipume, a smart skills center, where anyone can come and access. We've got 31 computer points. Whether you want to do your CV or you want to get information on your small business, you know, who you can trade with, including a boardroom that is a smart boardroom where you can be able to connect with anyone in the world in order to be able to communicate. We are supporting young women who are producing soaps and cream from aloe around Ulundi. They said to me, Minister, with the Smart Skills Center, we are now going to be selling our products by connecting there. And also what we are doing, some drugs, you will be happy. We are coming to you, by the way, to partner with you. We want to train those youngsters from the rural areas to be able to fix electronic gadgets. I don't understand why do we still leave the fixing of cell phones and tablets to people. This is not xenophobic, but it's a fact. It's almost exclusively done by foreign nationals. It can't be when our young people are unemployed. What is so difficult about fixing a cell phone if we are properly trained? That's what we are doing deep in the rural areas, because also want to make an example that rural kids must not be disadvantaged and only urban kids are the ones who are able to access all these things. Also, I want to say that through our ICT CETA, we are pursuing key drivers of influencing skills demand and supply by, amongst others, or through artificial intelligence, cloud computing, big data analytics, 5G, and the Internet of Things. The MICT sector priority occupation list, for instance, makes up 14% of the national priority skills that we always publish here as the Department of Higher Education and Training and give it to Home Affairs, amongst other places. Now, I must say that, just to underline this, I'm really very passionate about the work that Samdra is doing. I'm not saying this because the facilitator of the earlier panel is from Samdra, but we do work together. That's why he recognized me. If he didn't recognize me, as I was coming in, he knows what trouble was he going to get into. I'm pulling your leg, but you are doing great work in terms of wanting Black people to get into this space of innovation. Innovation in terms of electronics. And I believe as South Africans, we are capable of doing any innovation. Let me tell you a wonderful story. I visited the United States, Washington, DC, in the single biggest clinical research institute in the world called the National Institutes of Health. That's where Donald Trump was admitted when he had COVID. I even saw that hospital where he was. The one person who worked there was the Dr. Fauci that he was insulting all the time, you know. They say they come to apologize. The acting head said, I put aside everything because I heard Minister of Science from South Africa is coming here. And I'm here, Minister, to welcome you myself personally, because I want to apologize for having marginalized and isolated you when you discovered the Omicron variant of COVID-19. Without that discovery, many more people in the US who are vulnerable would have died. And thanks to South Africa, and sorry that we even tried to block you and to try and call this a South African variant of COVID. That's how capable we are as a country when it comes to innovation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm standing between you and lunch now. The year 2022 witnessed a historic milestone in science policy in South Africa when we adopted what we call our 10-year, we call it the decadal plan for science, technology, and innovation. Although prepared by my department, but it's a whole of government plan. It's not just the plan of the Department of Science and Innovation. And the president is going to be convening a gathering early next year for different stakeholders to agree on a compact on how to fund research and development and science, technology, and innovation by all the role players. I'm sure that some of you or your organizations will be represented in that. We are concerned that funding by business for research and development has been coming down. And this is one of the big challenges that we are actually facing. Our Department of Science and Innovation continues to play a role in facilitating investment into science. This will not succeed unless we mobilize more resources to be invested for innovation in the digital space, which is very important. Now, through my Department of Science and Innovation, we are also doing work on artificial intelligence. In 2011 already, we established the Center for Artificial Intelligence Research, consisting of 9 universities, a network of 9 universities in our. Through this center, we provide research and postgraduate training in different areas of artificial intelligence to ensure that South Africa has the right combination and level of expertise. We are also having a program which is called Foundational Digital Capabilities Research as the core driver of the national vision for AI research and innovation. Minister Kungubele, the two of us need to meet very soon, my brother. Very soon, my colleague. Because you have an Institute of Artificial Intelligence by your department. You can't be having this research center, which is hosted by the CSIR, doing parallel work with your institute. We need to talk so that we are able to do joined up government. So that we are able to use our resources. By the way, I've also asked for your information, those who are curious, both my Department of Higher Education and Training and my Department of Science and Innovation, to look at the implications of the chat generative pre-trained transformer called ChatGPT, its implications for education in our country and the world. If today you can go and instruct your laptop through a program to write you an essay, and all we have to do is just have got to correct here and there, how sure will we be as university academics that the products that is being brought to us is indeed the product of the students or is the product of artificial intelligence? I've decided that my 2 digits must look into this. Let me move towards conclusion by saying that it's clear that the digital revolution has ushered in a wave of transformation that is reshaping economies across the globe. By the way, I want to say this as a social scientist. We need to do interdisciplinary work at all times, because we can't just be talking about digital technologies and also not look at the hugely negative impact that some of these things can come from. It's not unusual today to go into a household. You find a father, a mother with 3 children, all sitting together around a TV. None of them are watching the television, and they are not talking to each other. They are on their cell phones. What are the social and human consequences of that for society, but even and families as well? That is why digital training must also go with human sciences and social science sensitivities and training. That's the philosophy of both my departments, that we do multidisciplinary work because we are looking at whole development of human beings. I'm very glad also that this matter was elevated at BRICS, the issue of digital skills, and that we are going to be collaborating with BRICS countries in doing this. In conclusion, it is therefore more apparent that in South Africa, we are propelling, not it's apparent, we are propelling our post-school education and training sector and our national system of innovation to respond to the needs of our digital economy. Of course, the digital economy knows no boundaries. We therefore should encourage collaboration and cooperation with our international partners and leverage the expertise of global tech leaders to facilitate knowledge transfer and skills development. Let me congratulate you, Minister Kungubele, for continuing with GovTech, ningayiyeki le platform. It's very important, provided you also are innovative. Otherwise, I'm not coming back here next time. You know? Yes, those who are clapping, clap even harder. And those who are clapping are possibly not short people. Never call people short. We are just not so tall. Wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the minister. And because you all were engaged in that presentation by the minister, but also the previous conversation, and we had to unfortunately pause it. It's not the end of that conversation. They are going to have another track in order to continue that conversation. So we'd like to apologize for that switch around. Part of my job on stage is to manage time, but it's also to make sure that you get to lunch on time. And so that you come back refreshed and we can engage for the rest of the program. However, I'm going to do one more thing before I let you go for lunch. I'm going to welcome one more speaker, and then I promise I'm going to feed you. One more speaker, and that person is none other than Grant. And Grant is going to be talking to us about Africa's digital transformation and platform business consideration. His name is Grant Morgan, and he's the managing director at CCOM Business. Grant, please join us on stage.